I'm trying to go live on Facebook, on YouTube again. Let's see if it
It
works.
says it's coming up on my corner that it's live and recording.
Yeah.
Oh, this is being recorded?
I
did not know this.
Ready?
Yes, it's
Ready
coming up
for your
on my
close-up.
corner that it's live and recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine is too.
Oh, this is being recorded?
I
did not know. I feel a lot more
Yeah,
pressure now.
It's coming up on my corner that it's live and recording.
Yeah,
Well,
mine
I'm
too.
recording
Oh,
it, but
this
we
is
don't
being
have to
recorded?
necessarily air it. We don't have to air it, Kara,
I
if you
did
don't
not
want.
I feel a lot more pressure now.
It's coming up on my corner that it's live and recording. It's
No, I'm
weird. Mine is
You don't have to necessarily.
repeating what everyone's
air
saying.
it, Kara, if you don't want.
I feel a lot more pressure now.
It's coming up on my corner that it's live and recording.
Technical difficulties.
Why are we hearing Blondie repeat? We're getting it. No.
Yeah.
Airing on my YouTube at the same time.
I think it fixed
Oh, okay.
itself. Okay.
Okay. All right, we gonna give this a try?
Who are we missing? Are we all together?
I think we're all here. Yeah. Okay. All About Eve, a screenplay by Joseph L. Mankiewicz, 1949. Fade in. Interior of the dining hall at the Sarah Siddons Society at night. It is not a large room and jammed with tables, mostly of 4, but some for 6 and 8. A long table of honor for about 30 people has been placed upon days. Dinner is over. Demi-tasses, cigars, and brandy. The overall effect is one of worn elegance and dogged gentility. It is June. The camera, as it has been throughout the credit titles, is on the Sarah Siddons Award. It is a golden statue about a foot high of Sarah Siddons, the tragic muse. Exquisitely framed in a nest of flowers, it rests on a miniature altar in the center of the table of honor. Over this, we hear the crisp, cultured, precise voice of Addison DeWitt.
The Sarah Siddons Award for Distinguished Achievement is perhaps unknown to you. It has been spared the sensational and commercial publicity that attends such questionable honors as the Pulitzer Prize and those awards presented annually by film societies. The distinguished looking gentleman is an extremely old actor. Being an actor, he will go on speaking for some time. It is not important what you hear, what he says. However, it is important that you know where you are and why you are here. This is the dining room of the Sarah Siddons Society. The occasion is its annual banquet and presentation of the highest honor our theater knows, the Sarah Siddons Award for Distinguished Achievements. These hallowed walls, indeed many of these faces, have looked upon Modjeska, Ada Rehan, and Minnie Fisk. Mansfield's voice filled the room. Booth breathed this air. It is unlikely that the windows have been opened since his death. The minor awards, as you can see, have already been presented. Minor awards are for such as the writer and director. Since their function is merely to construct a tower so the world can applaud a light which flashes on top of it, and no brighter light has ever dazzled the eye than Eve Harrington. Eve. But more of Eve later, all about Eve, in fact. To those of you who do not read, attend the theater, listen to uncensored radio programs, or know anything of the world in which we live, it is perhaps necessary to introduce myself. My name is Addison DeWitt. My native habitat is the theater. In it I toil not, neither do I spin. I am a critic and commentator. I am essential to the theater, as ants are to a picnic, as the boll weevil to a cotton field. This is Karen Richards. She is the wife of a playwright, therefore of the theater by marriage. Nothing in her background or breeding should have brought her any closer to the stage than row E center. However, during her senior year at Radcliffe, Lloyd Richards lectured on drama. The following year, Karen became Mrs. Lloyd Richards. Lloyd is the author of Footsteps on the Ceiling, the play which has won for Eve Harrington the Sarah Siddons Award. There are two types. Yeah.
Go ahead.
There are two types of theatrical producers. One has a great many wealthy friends who will risk the tax-deductible loss. This type is interested in art. The other one, to whom each production mean potential ruin or fortune, this type is out to make a buck. Meet Max Fabian. He is the producer of the play which has won Eve Harrington the Sarah Siddons Award. Margot Channing is the star of the theater. She made her first stage appearance at the age of 4 in Midsummer Night's Dream. She played a fairy and entered quite unexpectedly stark naked. She has been a star ever since. Margot is a great star, a true star. She never was or will be anything less the part for which Eve Harrington is receiving the Sarah Siddons Award was intended originally for Margot Channing. Having covered in tedious detail not only the history of the Sarah Siddons Society, but also the history of acting since Thespis first stepped out of the chorus line, our distinguished chairman has finally arrived at our reason for being.
I have been proud and privileged to have spent my life in the theater, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and I have been honored to be, for 40 years, chief promoter of the Sarah Siddons Society. 39 times I have placed in deserving hands this highly honored that the theater knows. Surely no actor is older than I, and I have earned my place out of the sun. And never before has this award gone to anyone younger than its recipient tonight. How fitting that it should pass from my hands to hers. Such lovely hands, such a young lady, young in years, but whose heart is as old as the theater. Some of us privileged to know her. We have seen beyond the beauty and artistry that have made her name resound through the nation. We know her melody, her devotion, her loyalty to her art, her love, her deep and abiding love for us. For what we are and what we do, the theater, she has one wish, one prayer, one dream, to belong to us. Tonight is her dream. Her dream has come true, and henceforth we shall dream the same of her. Honored members, ladies and gentlemen, for distinguished achievement in the theater, the Sarah Siddons Award to Miss Eve Harrington.
The entire room is galvanized into sudden and tumultuous applause. Some enthusiastic gentlemen rise to their feet. Flashbulbs start popping about halfway down the table of the aged actor's left. Eve rises, beautiful, radiant, poised, exquisitely gowned. She stands in simple and dignified response to the ovation. As she nears her goal, the aged actor turns to her. He holds out the award. Her hand reaches out for it. At that precise moment, with the award just beyond her fingertips, the picture holds. The action stops. The sound stops.
Eve. Eve, the golden girl, the cover girl, the girl next door, the girl on the moon. Time has been good to Eve. Life goes where she goes. She's been profiled, covered, revealed, reported, what she eats and whom and where, when she knows and where she was and when and where she's going. Eve. You all know all about Eve. What can there be to know that you don't know?
When was it? How long? Seems a lifetime ago. Lloyd always said that in the theater, a lifetime was a season, and a season a lifetime. It's June now. That was early October, only last October. It was a drizzly night, I remember. I asked the taxi to wait.
Dissolved to the exterior of a New York theater street at night. Traffic is not heavy. The shows have broken some half hour before. The rain is just a drizzle. There are other theaters on the street. Display lights are being extinguished, going out just as Karen's taxi pulls up. Margot Channing in Aged in Wood. The marquee displays below includes Max Fabian Presents and by Lloyd Richards. The taxi comes to a stop at the alley. Karen can be seen through the closed windows telling the driver to wait. Then she gets out, she takes a step, hesitates, then looks about curiously.
Where was she? Strange. I had become so accustomed to seeing her there night after night. I found myself looking for a girl I'd never spoken to, wondering where she was.
Karen moves towards the stage door. She passes a recess in the wall, perhaps an exit about halfway.
Mrs. Richards?
So there you are. Seemed odd suddenly you're not being there.
Why should you think I wouldn't be?
Oh, I'm sorry. Why should
That's
you?
okay.
I'm so sorry. Independent issues. Why should you be? After all, 6 nights a week for weeks of watching even Margot Channing enter and leave a theater.
I hope you don't mind my speaking to you.
No, not at all.
I've seen you so often. It took every bit of courage I could raise.
To speak to just a playwright's wife, I am the lowest form of celebrity.
You're Margot Channing's best friend. You and your husband are always with her, and Mr. Sampson. What's he like?
Bill Sampson? He's a director.
He's the best.
He'll agree with you. But tell me, what do you do between the time that Margot goes in and comes out? Just huddle in the doorway and wait?
Oh, no, I see the play.
You see the play? You've seen the play every performance? But don't you find, I mean, apart from everything else, don't you find it expensive?
Standing room doesn't cost much. I manage.
I'm going to take you to Margot.
Oh,
She
no.
has to meet you. She has to meet you.
No, I'd be imposing on her. I'd just be another tongue-tied gushing fan.
There isn't another like you. There couldn't be.
But what if I'd known maybe some other time? I mean, looking like this.
You look just fine. By the way, what's your name?
Eve Harrington.
To the interior backstage at the Koran Theater at night. Everything, including the doorman, looks fireproof. Eve enters like a novitiate's first visit to the Vatican. Karen, with a good evening Gus to the doorman, leads the way toward Margot's stage dressing room. Eve, drinking in the wonderment of all the surveys, lags behind. Karen waits for her to catch up.
You can breathe it, can't you? Like some magic perfume.
The exterior of Margot's dressing room at the Koran Theater. No star on the closed door. The paint is peeling. A typewritten sheet, thumbtacked, says Miss Channing. As Karen and Eve approach it, an uninhibited guffaw from Margot makes them pause.
You wait a minute. Now don't run away.
Honey, Chili, I said, if the South had won the war, you could write the same plays about the North.
Cut to the interior of Margot's dressing room at the Koran Theater. It is a medium-sized box lined with hot water pipes and cracked plaster. It is furnished in beat-up wicker. A door leads to an old-fashioned bathroom. Margot is at the dressing table. She wears an old wrapper, her hair drawn back tightly to fit under the wig, which lies before her like a dead poodle. Also before her is an almost finished drink. Lloyd Richards is stretched out on the wicker chase. He is in his late 30s, sensitive, literate. Between them by the dressing table is Bertie, Margot's maid. Her age is unimportant. She was conceived during a split week in Walla Walla and born in a carnival riot. She is fiercely loyal to Margot. Karen enters during the line Margot started while she was outside. Lloyd chuckles and Bertie crackles.
Hi. Hello, darling.
Hi. Well, now, Miss Channing, I don't you think we rightly say we lost the war, but was more starved out, you might say. And what I don't understand about all these plays is the love-starved Southern woman. Love is one thing we ain't never starved for in the South.
And how was the concert? Did that make
Karen.
Oh,
You.
It's Bertie.
No.
Oh,
Oh, loud. I'm sorry.
Let me fix you a drink.
I told you I'm sorry. I'm so
Now
sorry.
you-
Okay. Let me fix you a drink.
No thanks, Bertie.
Margot's interview with a lady reporter from the South.
Minute it gets printed, they're gonna fire on Gettysburg all over again.
It was Fort Sumter they fired on.
I never played Fort Sumter.
Honey, Chili had a point. You know, I can remember plays about women, even from the South. It never occurred to them whether they wanted to marry their fathers more than their brothers.
That was way back.
Within your time, Buster. Lloyd, honey, be a playwright with guts. Write me one about a nice, normal woman who just shoots her husband.
You need new girdles.
Buy some,
Same size?
of course.
Well, I guess a real tight girdle help when you're playing a lunatic.
Margot does not play a lunatic, Bertie.
I know, she keeps hearing dead father playing the banjo.
It's the tight girdle that does it.
I find these wisecracks increasingly funny. Aged in Wood happens to be a fine and distinguished play.
That's my loyal little woman.
Yes, the critics certainly thought so. The audience certainly thinks so. Packed houses, tickets for months in advance. I can see that either of Voight's last two plays have hurt you. Any.
Easy now.
Relax, kid. It's only me and my big mouth.
It's just that you got me so mad sometimes. Of all the women in the world with nothing to complain about.
Ain't it the truth?
Yes, it is. You're talented, famous, wealthy, people waiting around night after night just to see you, even in the wind and the rain.
Autograph fiends. They're not people. They're little beasts who run around in packs like coyotes.
They're your fans, your audience.
They're nobody's fans. They're juvenile delinquents, mental detectives. They're a nobody's audience. They never see a play or a movie. They're never indoors long enough.
Well, there's one indoors now. I've brought her back to see you.
You've what?
She's just outside the door.
The heave ho.
You can't put her out. I promised, Margot. You've got to see her. She worships you. It's like something out of a book.
That book is out of print. Karen, those days are gone. Fans no longer pull the carriage to the streets. They tear off clothes and steal wristwatches.
If you'd only see her, you see her whole life. You must have spotted her by now. She's always there.
Kind of mousy trench coat and funny hat. How could I miss her every night and matinee? Well,
Once George Jessel played my hometown. For a girl, getting into him was easy. Getting out was the problem.
I thought you'd forgotten about me.
Oh, not at all. Margot, this is Eve Harrington.
how do you do, my dear?
Oh, brother.
Hello, Miss Channing.
My husband.
Hello, Miss Harrington.
How do you do, Mr. Richards?
And this is my good friend and companion, Miss Bertie Coonan.
Oh, brother.
Miss Coonan,
Oh, brother, what?
When she gets like this, all of a sudden she's playing Hamlet's mother.
I'm sure you must have things to do in the bathroom, Bertie, dear.
If I haven't, I'll find something tell you normal.
Dear Bertie, won't you sit down, Miss Worthington?
Harrington.
I'm so sorry, Harrington. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Would you like a drink? It's right beside you.
I was telling Margot and Lloyd about how often you'd seen the play.
No, thank you. Yes, I've seen every performance.
Every performance? Then, am I safe in assuming you like it?
I'd like anything Miss Channing played.
Would you really? How sweet.
I doubt very much you'd like her in The Hairy Ape.
Please don't misunderstand me, Mr. Richards. I think that the part of Miss Channing's greatness lies in her ability to choose the best plays. Your new play is for Miss Channing, isn't it, Mr. Richards?
Of course it is.
How did you hear about it?
There was an item in the Times. I like the title, Footsteps on the Ceiling.
Let's get back to this one. Have you really ever really seen every performance? Why? I'm curious.
Well, if I don't come to see the play, I wouldn't have anywhere else to go.
There are other plays.
Not with you in them. Not by Mr. Richards.
But you must have friends, a family, a home.
Tell us about it, Eve.
If I only knew how.
Try.
Well, it started with the play before this one.
Remembrance.
Did you see it here in New York?
San Francisco. It was the last week. I went one night, the most important night in my life, until this one. Anyway, I found myself going the next night and the next and the next, every performance. Then when the show went east, I went east.
Where?
Christina.
Sorry, that's me. My dog was asking for love. I'll never forget that blizzard in the night we played Cheyenne. A cold night. First time I ever saw a brazier break like a piece of matzahs.
Eve, why don't you start at the beginning?
It couldn't possibly interest you.
Please.
Well, I guess it started back home. Wisconsin, that is. There was just Mom and Dad and me. I was the only child, and I made believe a lot when I was a kid. I acted out all sorts of things. What they were isn't important, but somehow acting and make-believe began to fill up my life more and more. It got so that I couldn't tell real from the unreal, except that the unreal seemed more real to me. I'm talking a lot of gibberish, aren't I?
No, not at all.
Farmers were poor in those days. That's what Dad was, a farmer. I had to help out, so I quit school and I went to Milwaukee. I became a secretary in a brewery. When you're a secretary in a brewery, it's pretty hard to make believe you're anything else. Everything is beer. It wasn't much fun, but it helped at home, and there was a little theater group, like a drop of rain in the definition. We played Lily.
Oh,
For 3 performances.
oh no.
I was awful. Then came the war, and Eddie was in the Air Force, and they sent him to Pacific. You, the OWI, weren't you, Miss? Need vacation time. I went to San Francisco to meet him. Okay. Let's try that again. Eddie wasn't there. They forwarded the telegram to say that Eddie wasn't coming at all, that Eddie was dead. So I figured I'd stay in San Francisco. I was alone, but I couldn't go back without Eddie. I found a job and his insurance helped, and there were theaters in San Francisco. And one night, Margot Channing came to play in Remembrance, and I went to see it, and well, here I am.
What a story. Everything but the bloodhound snapping at her rear end.
There are some human experiences, Bertie, that do not take place in a vaudeville house. And even a fifth-rate vaudevillian should understand and respect. I want to apologize for Bertie's.
You don't have to apologize for me. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. It's just my way of talking.
You didn't hurt my feelings, Miss Coonan.
Call me Bertie. As for being fifth rate, I closed the first half for 11 years, and you know it.
From 45 minutes from now, my plane takes off. And how do I find you? Not ready yet. You're looking like a junkyard.
Thank you so much.
It's sabotage. Does my career mean nothing to you? Have you no human consideration?
Show me a human and I might have.
Bill.
The airlines have clocks. Even if you haven't, I start shooting a week from Monday. Zanuck is impatient. He wants me. He needs me.
Bill.
Zanuck, Zanuck, Zanuck. What are the two of you? Lovers?
Only in some ways. You're prettier.
I'm a junkyard.
Bill!
Huh?
This is Eve Harrington.
Hi, my wonderful junkyard. The mystery and the dreams you find in a junkyard.
Heaven help me, I love a psychotic.
Hello. What's your name?
Eve. Eve Harrington.
You've already met.
Where?
Right here, a minute ago.
That's nice.
She too is a great admirer of yours.
Imagine all this admiration in just one room.
Take your mistress into the bathroom and dress her. Without comment.
You're not going, are you?
I think I'd better. It's been, well, I can hardly find the words to say how it's been.
No, don't go.
But the four of you have so much to say to each other with Mr. Sampson leaving.
Stick around, please. Tell you what, we'll put Stanislavski on the plane and then you and I can go somewhere and talk.
Well, if I'm not in the way.
I won't be a minute.
Lloyd, we've got to go. Margot, good night. I'll call you tomorrow. Good luck, genius.
Geniuses don't need good luck. I do.
I'm not worried about you.
Keep the thought.
Good night, Eve. I hope to see you again soon.
I'll be at the old stand tomorrow matinee.
Not just that way, as a friend.
I'd like that.
It's been a real pleasure, Eve.
I hope so, Mr. Richards. Good night. Mrs. Richards, I'll never forget this night as long as I live, and I'll never forget you for making it possible.
And I will never forget you, Eve. Where were we going that night, Lloyd and I? Funny things you remember, and the things you don't.
The interior of Margot's dressing room at night. Eve sits on the same chair. Bill keeps moving around. Eve never takes her eyes off him. He offers her a cigarette. She shakes her head. He looks at his watch.
You said 47 minutes. You'll never make it.
I told you a lie. We'll make it easily. Margot's got no more conception of time than a halibut. She's been carrying that letter around for weeks. I've read it 3 times.
You're supposed to zip the zipper, not me.
Like trying to zip a pretzel. Stand still.
What a documentary those two would make, like the mongoose and the cobra.
So you're finally going to Hollywood.
Why?
I just wondered.
Just wondered what?
Why?
Why what?
Why you have to go out there?
I don't have to. I want to.
Is it the money?
80% of it will go for taxes.
Then why? Why, if you were the best and the most successful young director in the theater.
The truth. The truth. What book of rules says the theater exists only within some ugly buildings crowded into 1 square mile of New York City, or London, or Paris, or Vienna? Listen, Junior, and learn. Want to know what the theater is? A flea circus. Also opera. Also rodeos, carnivals, ballets, Indian tribal dances, Punch and Judy, and one-man band. All theater. Wherever there's magic and make-believe in an audience, there's theater. Donald Duck, Isbin, The Lone Ranger, Sarah Bernhardt, Poodles Hannaford, Lunt and Fontaine, Betty Grable, Rex and Wild and Illinois and Dewes. You don't understand them all. You don't like them all. Why should you? The theater's for everybody, you included, but not exclusively. So don't approve or disapprove. It may not be your theater, but it's theater of somebody, somewhere.
I just asked a simple question.
And I shot my mouth off. Nothing personal, Junior, no offense. It's just that there's so much bourgeois in this ivory green room they call the theater. Sometimes it gets up around my chin.
But Hollywood, you mustn't stay there.
It's only a 1-picture deal.
So few come back.
Yeah, they keep you under drugs out there with their armed guards.
I read George Jean Nathan every week.
Also Addison DeWitt.
Every day.
You didn't have to tell me.
I understand it's the latest thing, just one earring. If it isn't, it's going to be. I can't find the other.
Throw that dreary thing away. It bores me.
Where do you suppose it could be?
It'll show up.
Ah, well. Look through the wigs. Maybe it got caught.
Real diamonds in a wig. The world we live in.
Where's my coat?
Right where you left it.
The seams.
Can't keep his eyes off my legs.
Like a nylon lemon peel.
Byron couldn't have said it more graciously. Here we go.
Got any messages? What do you want me to tell Tyrone Power?
Just give him my phone number. I'll tell him myself.
Mwah.
Kill the people. Got your key?
See you home.
Exterior of the LaGuardia Field at night. American Airlines baggage counter. The rain has stopped, but it's still wet. Margot, Eve, and Bill are stymied behind 2 or 3 couples, waiting to be checked in. Margot's arm is through Bill's. They become increasingly aware of their imminent separation. Eve senses her superfluity. A lull. Bill cranes at the passenger heading in line. In earnest conversation with the dispatcher, he sighs.
They have to time it so everybody gets on at the last minute, so they can close the doors and let you sit.
Ah,
I have a suggestion. There's really not much time left. I mean, you haven't had a minute alone yet, and, well, I could take care of everything here and meet you at the gate with the ticket, if you'd like.
I think we'd like that very much. Sure you won't mind?
Of course not.
The exterior passage and gate of LaGuardia at night. It's covered with glass windows. Margot's arm is still in Bill's.
She's quite a girl. That's what's her name.
Eve, I'd forgotten they grew that way.
A lack of pretense, that sort of strange directness and understanding.
Did she tell you all about what the theater and what it meant?
I told her. I sounded off.
All the religions in the world rolled into one, and we're gods and goddesses. Isn't it silly? Suddenly I've developed a big protective feeling for her, a lamb loose in the big stone jungle. Take care of yourself out there.
I understand they've got what the Indians pretty well in hand.
Bill,
Huh?
don't get stuck on some glamour puss.
I'll try.
You're not such a bargain, you know, conceited and thoughtless and messy.
Everybody can't be Gregory Peck.
You are set up for some gorgeous wide-eyed babe.
How childish are you going to get before you quit?
I don't want to be childish. I'll just settle for a few years.
And cut that out right now.
Am I going to lose you, Bill? Am I?
At this moment, you're 6 years old.
Already?
Thanks for your help. Good luck.
Goodbye, Mr. Sampson.
Knit me a muffler.
Call me when you get in.
Hey, Junior. Keep your eyes on her. Don't let her get lonely. She's a loose lamb in a jungle.
Don't worry.
That same night, we sent for Eve's things, her few pitiful possessions, and she moved into the little guest room on the top floor. And she cried when she saw it. It was so like her little room back home in Wisconsin. And the next 3 weeks were out of a fairy tale, and I was Cinderella in the last act. Eve became my sister, lawyer, mother, friend, psychiatrist, and cop. The honeymoon was on.
Interior of Margot's living room. It's 1 floor above street level. A long, narrow room, smartly furnished, including a Sarah Siddons Award. Margot's narrative overlaps into the scene where it is a silent one. Eve sits at a small desk. She is just arranging a stack of letters, which she carries to Margot with a pen. Margot sits comfortably by the fire with a play script. She hands the scripts up to Eve, shakes her head, and holds her nose. Eve smiles, takes the script, and hands Margot the letters to sign. Cut to the interior of backstage at the Koran Theater at day. From the wings, the audience is never visible. Eve in the foreground, Margot and company taking a curtain call. Tumultuous applause. The curtain falls. The cast, except for Margot and the two lead men, walk off. The curtain rises again. Eve, watching and listening to the storm of applause. Her eyes shine. She clasps and unclasps her hands. The stage, Eve again in the foreground, but closer. Again, the curtain falls. This time the two men go off. The curtain rises on Margot alone. If anything, the applause builds. Eve, that same hypnotic look. There are tears in her eyes. The curtain falls off scene, then rises again. Margot, the curtain falls again between her and the camera. Backstage, the curtain just settling on the floor, Margot starts off. One more.
From now on, it's not the applause, just something to do till the aisles get less crowded. What, again?
I could watch you play that last scene 1,000 times and cry every time.
Performance number 1 of this, if I play it that, number 1,000 of this, if I play it that long, will take place in a well-padded booby hatch.
I must say, you can certainly tell Mr. Sampson's been gone a month.
You certainly can, especially if you're me between now and tomorrow morning.
I mean the performance. Except for you, you'd think he'd never even directed it. It's disgraceful the way they change everything around.
Well, teachers away and actors will be actors.
During your second act scene with your father, Roger Faraday is supposed to say to stay way upstage at the Arch. He's been coming closer down every night.
When he gets too close, I'll just spit in his eye.
The interior of Margot's dressing room at night. It's undergone quite a change. A new carpet, chintz covers for the furniture, new lampshades, dainty curtains across the filthy barred window. Bertie waits within. She's listening to a fight. She shuts it off as they enter.
You brought the new girdles a size smaller. I can feel it.
Something maybe grew a size bigger.
When we get home, you're going to get into one of those girdles and act for 2.5 hours.
I couldn't get into that girdle in 2.5 hours.
You haven't noticed my latest bit of interior decorating.
Well, you've done so much. What's new?
The curtains. I made them myself.
They are lovely. Aren't they lovely, Bertie?
Adorable. We now got everything a dressing room needs except a basketball hoop.
Just because you can't even work a zipper. It was very thoughtful, Eve, and I appreciate it.
While you're cleaning up, I'll take this to the wardrobe mistress.
Oh, don't bother, Miss Brown. Miss Brown will be in for it in a minute. Along for it in a minute.
No trouble at all.
If I may so bold as to say something, did you ever hear the word union?
Behind in your dues? How much?
I haven't got a union. I'm slave labor.
Well?
But the wardrobe women have got one. And next to a tenor, a wardrobe woman is the touchiest thing in show business.
Oh.
She's got 2 things to do. Carry clothes and press them wrong. And just let anybody else muscle in.
Cut to the interior backstage at the Grand Theater. Margot pops out and looks for Eve, then stares in amazement. Eve, near the wings. She stands before a couple of mirrors set up for cast members. She has Margot's dress held up against her body. She turns this way and that and bows as if to applause, mimicking Margot exactly. Margot watches her curiously, then smiles.
Eve. I think we better let Miss Brown pick up the wardrobe.
Cut to the interior of Margot's bedroom at night. Margot is asleep. A bedside clock with a luminous dial reads 3 a.m. exactly. The phone rings. Her head comes up out of the pillow. She shakes it. She fumbles, switches on a lamp, then picks up the phone.
Hello?
We are ready with your call to Beverly Hills.
Call what call?
Hit this Templage 89970, Miss Margot Channing.
That's right, but I don't understand.
We are ready with the call you placed for 12 midnight California time to Mr. William Sampson in Beverly Hills.
I placed.
Go ahead, please.
Margot, what a wonderful surprise. What a thoughtful, ever-loving thing to do.
Bill, have I gone crazy? Bill?
You're my girl, aren't you?
That I am.
Then you're crazy.
When are you coming back?
I leave in a week. The picture's all wrapped up. We previewed last night. Those previews, like opening night out of town, but terrifying. There's nothing you can do. You're trapped. You're in a tin can.
In a tin can, cellophane, or wrapped in a Navajo blanket. I want you home.
You in a hurry?
A big hurry, and be quick about it. So good night, darling, and sleep tight.
Wait a minute. You can't hang up. You haven't said it.
Bill, you know how much I do, but over the phone now, really, that's kid stuff.
Kid stuff or not, it doesn't happen every day. I want to hear it. And if you won't say it, you can sing it.
Sing it.
Sure, like the Western Union boys used to do.
Bill, it's your birthday.
And who remembered it? Who was there on the dot at 12 midnight?
Happy birthday, darling.
The reading could have been better, but you say it now. Many happy returns of the day.
Many happy returns of the day.
I get a party, don't I?
Of course. Birthday and welcome home. Who will I ask?
It's no secret. I know all about the party. Eve wrote me.
She did.
She hasn't missed a week since I left. But you know all that? You probably tell her what to write anyway. I sent her a list of people to ask. Check with her.
Yes, I will.
How is Eve? Okay?
Okay.
I love you.
I'll check in with you.
What?
I love you too. Good night, darling.
See you.
Cut to the interior of Margot's bedroom at day. Margot is propped up in bed, still reflective. Birdie comes in with her breakfast tray and a high, which gets a high from Margot. She starts on some petty chores. Margot takes a sip of orange juice.
Birdie,
Hmm?
you don't know Eve, do you?
Do you want an argument or an answer?
An answer.
No.
Why not?
Now you want an argument.
She works hard.
Night and day.
She's loyal and efficient.
Like an agent with one client.
She thinks only for me, doesn't she?
Well, let's say she thinks only about you anyway.
What do you mean by that? How do you mean that?
I'll tell you how. Like, let's see. Like she was studying you. Like you were in a play or a book or a set of blueprints. How you walk, talk, think, eat, sleep.
I'm sure that's very flattering, Birdie, and I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it.
Good morning. Well, what do you think of my new elegant suit?
Very becoming. It looks better on you than it did on me.
I can imagine. You know, all it needed was some taking in here and letting out there. Are you sure you won't want it yourself?
Quite sure. I find it just a bit too 17-ish for me.
Oh, come now, as though you were an old lady. I'm on my way. Is there anything more you've thought of?
There's the script to go back to the guild.
I've got it
And those checks or whatever it is for the income tax man.
right here.
It seems I can't think of a thing you haven't thought of.
That's my job. See you at tea time.
Eve, by any chance, did you place a call from me to Bill for midnight California time?
Oh, golly, and I forgot to tell you.
Yes, dear. You forgot all about it.
Well, I was sure you'd want to, of course, being his birthday, and you've been so busy these past few days. And last night I meant to tell you before you went out with the Richards, and I guess I was asleep when you got home.
Yes, I guess you were. It was very thoughtful of you, Eve.
Mr. Sampson's birthday, I certainly wouldn't forget that. You'd never forgive me. As a matter of fact, I sent him a telegram myself.
Interior of the dining hall at the Sarah Siddon Society at night. Margot reflectively twirling her highball glass. The applause continues. She lifts her glass to drink. Her glance meets Karen's. She raises the glass in a silent toast. Karen smiles wanly at Margot's toast. Then the smile fades as she looks reflectively back to Eve.
I saw Eve quite often after our first meeting, but we never really talked again until the party Margot gave for Bill when he returned from Hollywood.
Interior of Marco's bedroom at night. It's now January. The bed is littered with fur coats. Through the open door from the floor below, the murmur of a party at a late hour. No hilarity.
It's always convenient at a party to know the hostess well enough to use her bedroom rather than go where all the others have to go. Now, who's shown up at this hour? It's time people went home. Hold that coat up. Whose is it?
Some Hollywood movie star. Her plane got in late.
Ugh, discouraging, isn't it? Women with furs like that where it never gets cold.
Hollywood.
Tell me, Eve, how are things with you? Happy?
There should be a new word for happiness. Being here with Miss Channing has been, I just can't say. She's been so wonderful, done so much for me.
Oh, Lloyd says Margot compensates for underplaying on the stage by overplaying reality. Next to that sable, my new mink seems like an old bed jacket. You've done your share, Eve. You've worked wonders with Margot.
Miss Richards,
Karen?
Karen, isn't it awful? I'm about to ask you for another favor after all you've already done.
Oh, nobody's done so much, Eve. You've got to stop thinking of yourself as one of the 100 neediest cases. What is it?
Well, Miss Channing's affairs are in such good shape. There isn't enough for me to keep as busy as I should be, really. Not that I've ever considered anything that would take me away from her, but the other day when I heard Mr. Fabian telling Miss Channing that her understudy was going to have a baby and they'd have to replace her.
Oh, you want to be Margot's new understudy.
I don't let myself think about it even, but I do know the parts so well and every bit of the staging, there'd be no need to break in a new girl. But I suppose I had to go on one night to an audience that came to see Margot Channing. No, I couldn't possibly.
Don't worry too much about that. Margot doesn't just miss performances. If she can walk, crawl, or roll, she plays.
The show must go on.
No, dear. Margot must go on. As a matter of fact, I see no reason why you shouldn't be Margot's understudy.
Do you think Miss Channing would approve?
I think she would cheer.
But Mr. Richards and Mr. Sampson,
They will do as they're told.
then would you talk to Mr. Fabian about it?
Of course.
You won't forget it?
I won't forget.
I seem to be forever thanking you for something, don't I?
Wow, Karen really did do this shit, didn't she? I'm so sorry. Wow.
She's the enabler.
Damn.
It really is.
Stop her.
It's all your fault, Karen.
I hate this. I am this person, I swear.
Look what you hath wrought. The bed looks like a dead animal act. Which one is Sable? Get that.
Oh, Karen, yeah.
Right here.
But she just got here. I'm sorry. But she just got here.
She's on her way with half the men in the joint. It's only a fur coat.
What did you expect? Live sables?
Diamond collar, gold sleeves, you know, picture people.
Bill says actors out there eat just as infrequently as here.
They can always grab oranges off the trees. This you can't do in Times Square.
Interior of the second floor landing and stairs at night. Karen and Bertie come down the stairs to Bill, Max, Addison, a blonde young lady named Miss Caswell, Addison's protege of the moment. And at the feet of Bill and Addison, Eve. They are all seated on the steps. Bertie goes through and down the stairs to the first floor. Karen remains with the others.
Every now and then, some elder statesman of the theater or cinema assures the public that actors and actresses are just plain folk, ignoring the fact that their greatest attraction to the public is their complete lack of resemblance to normal human beings.
Now there's something a girl could make sacrifices for.
And probably has.
Sable?
Do you say Sable or Gable?
Either one.
It is senseless to insist that theatrical folk in New York, Hollywood, and London are no different from the good people of Des Moines, Chillicothe, or Liverpool. By and large, we are concentrated gatherings of neurotics, egomaniacs, emotional misfits, and precocious children.
Gable. Why, a feller like that don't come east to do a play.
He must be miserable. The life he lives out there.
These so-called abnormalities, there are stock in trade. They make us actors, writers, directors, etc. in the first place.
Answer me this. What makes a man become a producer?
What makes a man walk into a lion cage with nothing but a chair?
This answer satisfied me 100%.
We all have abnormality in common. We are a breed apart from the rest of humanity. We theater folk. We are the original displaced personalities.
You don't have to read his column tomorrow. You just heard it. I don't agree, Addison.
That happens to be your particular abnormality.
Oh, I admit it. There's a screwball element in the theater. It sticks out. It's got spotlights on it and a brass band, but it isn't basic. It isn't standard. If it were, the theater couldn't survive.
A waiter?
That isn't a waiter, my dear. That's a butler.
Well, I can't yell, "Oh, butler," can I? Maybe somebody's name is Butler.
You have a point, an idiotic one, but a point.
I don't want to make trouble. All I want is a drink.
Let me get you one.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fabian.
Well done. I see your career rising in the East like the sun. You were saying?
I was saying that the theater is 9/10 hard work. Work done the hard way by sweat, application, craftsmanship. I'll agree to this. That has to be a good actor, actress, or anything else in the theater means wanting to be that more than anything else in the world.
Yes, yes, it does.
It means concentration of ambition, desires, and sacrifice, such as no other profession demands. And I'll agree with the man or the woman who accepts these terms. Can't be ordinary. Can't be. Just someone. To give so much for almost always so little.
So little. So little, did you say? Why, if there's nothing else, there's applause. It's like waves of love coming over the footlights and wrapping you up. Imagine, every night that different hundreds of people love you. They smile, their eyes shine. You've pleased them. They want you. You belong. Just that alone is worth anything.
Don't get up. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna kind of. Margot's had too much to drink. Her fake smile fades as Eve gets up. She's unpleasant and depressed.
Don't get up. And please stop acting if I was the Queen Mother.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Outside of a beehive, Margot, your behavior would hardly be considered either queenly or motherly.
You're in a beehive, pal, didn't you know? We're all busy little bees full of stings making honey day and night, aren't we, honey?
Margot, really?
Please don't play governess, Karen. I haven't your unyielding good taste. But I wish I'd gone to Radcliffe too, but father wouldn't hear of it. He needed help at the notions counter. I'm being rude now, aren't I? Or should I say, ain't I?
You're maudlin and full of self-pity. You're magnificent.
How about calling it a night?
And you pose as a playwright, your situation pregnant with possibilities, and all you can think of is everybody go to sleep.
It's a good thought.
It won't play.
As a non-professional, I think it's an excellent idea. Undramatic, but practical.
Happy little housewife.
Cut it out.
This is my house, not a theater. In my house, you're a guest, not a director.
Then stop being a star. Start treating your guest as your supporting cast.
Hear, hear.
Now, let's not get into a big hassle.
It's about time we did. It's about time Margot realized that what's attractive on stage need not necessarily be attractive off.
All right, I'm going to bed. You be the host. It's your party. Happy birthday, welcome home, and we who are about to die salute you.
Need any help?
To put me to bed, take my clothes off, hold my head, tuck me in, turn off the lights, tiptoe out. Eve would. Wouldn't you, Eve?
If you'd like.
I wouldn't like.
I forgot I had it.
I didn't.
Oh, too bad. We'll miss the third act. They're going to play it off stage.
Coming?
In a minute. You mustn't mind Margot too much, even if I do.
But there must be some reason, something I've done without knowing.
The reason is, Margot, and don't try to figure it out. Einstein couldn't.
If I thought I've offended her of all people.
Eve, I'm fond of Margot too, but I know Margot, and every now and then there's nothing I want to do so much as give her a kick right square in the pants.
Well, if she's got to pick on someone, I'd just as soon it was me.
Max is going to drop us.
I've often wondered, Max, why you bother with a chauffeur and limousine in New York City.
In my case, it's necessary. Too many taxi drivers write plays.
And too many of them are produced.
Oh, let's go sit by the piano.
You have me confused with Dan Daly. You go sit by the piano. And you come sit by me. Good night.
Karen, you wouldn't forget, will you? What we talked about before?
No, Eve, I won't forget.
Return to the interior of the dining hall at the Sarah Siddon Society at night. The applause continues. Margot sits back in her chair now, picking at a bit of fingernail polish.
Bill's welcoming home birthday party. A night to go down in history, like the Chicago Fire or that massacre at the Huguenots. Even before the party started, I could smell disaster in the air. I knew it. I sensed it even as I finished dressing for that blasted party.
You all put together?
My back's open. Did the extra help get here?
There's some loose characters dressed like maids and butlers. Who'd you call? William Morris Agency?
You're not being funny. I could get actors for less. What about the food?
The caterer had to back the hors d'oeuvres. Voila!
The French ventriloquist taught you a lot, didn't he?
There was nothing you didn't know. There's a message from the bartender. Does Miss Channing know we ordered domestic gin by mistake?
The only thing I ordered by mistake is the guest. They're domestic too, and they don't care what you drink as long as it burns. How's Bill? Where's Bill? He's late.
Late for what?
Don't be dense, the party.
I ain't dense. He's been here 20 minutes.
Well, I certainly think it's odd he hasn't even come up.
Interior of the third floor landing at night. Margot speeds up going down the stairs. Interior of the second floor landing at night. Margot shows up again deliberately as she reaches the landing. The sound of Bill and Eve laughing together from the living room. Margot strolls toward it casually. We see Eve seated, looking up fascinated at Bill as he talks out of the laughter. Oh, did we lose? Oh,
Oh,
here, I'm letting him back in right now. All righty.
Sorry, guys.
Hi, no, you're good. If you want to take it from, don't let it worry you, said the cameraman. We see Eve seated, looking up fascinated as Bill talks.
Don't let it worry you, said the cameraman. Even DeMille couldn't see anything looking through the wrong end. So that was the first and the last time.
Don't let me kill the point. Or isn't this a story? Isn't it a story for grown-ups?
You've heard it. About when I looked through the wrong end of a camera finder.
Remind me to tell you about when I looked into the heart of an artichoke.
I'd like to hear it.
Some snowy night in front of the fire. In the meantime, while we're on the subject, would you check on the hors d'oeuvres? The caterer forgot them. The varnish wasn't right or something.
Of course.
Looks like I'm going to have a very fancy party.
I thought you were going to be late.
When I'm the guest of honor?
I had no idea you were even here.
I ran into Eve on my way upstairs. She told me you were dressing.
That never stopped you before.
Well, we started talking. She wanted to know all about Hollywood. She seemed so interested.
She's a girl of so many interests.
It's a pretty rare quality these days.
She's a girl of so many rare qualities.
So she seems.
So you've pointed out so often. So many qualities so often. Her loyalty, efficiency, devotion, warmth, affection. And so young. So young and so fair.
I can't believe you're making this up. It sounds like something out of an old Clyde Fitch play.
Clyde Fitch thought you might not think so. Was well before my time.
I've always denied the legend that you were in Our American Cousin the night Lincoln was shot.
I don't think that's funny.
Of course it's funny. This is all too laughable to be anything else. You know what I think about this? This age obsession of yours, and now this ridiculous attempt to whip yourself up into a jealous froth because I spent 10 minutes with a stage-struck kid?
20 minutes.
30 minutes, 40 minutes, what of it?
Stage-struck kid. She's a young lady of qualities. And I'll have you know I'm fed up with both the young lady and her qualities. Studying me as if I were a play or a set of blueprints. How I walk, talk, think, eat, sleep.
Now, how can you take offense at a kid trying in every way to be much like her ideal as possible?
Stop calling her a kid. It so happens there are particular aspects of my life I would like to maintain sole and exclusive rights and privileges.
For instance, what?
For instance, you.
This is my cue to take you in my arms and reassure you, but I'm not going to. I'm too mad.
Guilty.
Mad. Darling, there are certain characteristics for which you are famous, on stage and off. I love you for some of these and in spite of others. And I haven't let those become too important to me. They're part of your equipment for getting along in what is laughably called our environment. You've got to keep your teeth sharp. All right, but you will not sharpen them on me or on Eve.
What about her teeth? What about her fangs?
She hasn't cut them yet, and you know it. So when you start judging an idealistic, dreamy-eyed kid by the barroom, Benzedrine standards of this melodramatic society, I won't have it. Eve Harrington has never by word, look, thought, or suggestion indicated anything to me but her adoration for you and her happiness at our being in love. And to intimidate anything else doesn't spell jealousy to me. It spells a paranoid insecurity that you should be ashamed of.
Cut print. What happens in the next reel? Do I get drug off screaming to the snake pit?
Miss Channing? The hors d'oeuvres are here. Is there anything else I can do?
Thank you, Eve. I'd like a martini. Very dry.
I'll get it. What'll you'll have?
A milkshake?
A martini. Very dry, please. May I have your coat?
I can take it up myself.
Please.
I like that girl, that quality of quiet graciousness.
Among so many quiet qualities.
Margot, nothing you've ever done has made me as happy as you're taking Eve in.
I'm so happy you're happy.
Look, you haven't been running a settlement house exactly. The kids earned her way. You've had a pretty mixed up inventory when she took over, merchandise laying all over the shop.
Got Margot mixed up with the 5 and 10 cent store.
Make it Bergdorf Goodman. And how everything is on its proper shelf, eh, Max? Done up in little ribbons. I could die right now and nobody'd be confused. How about you, Max?
How about me what?
Suppose you drop dead. What about your inventory?
I ain't gonna die, not with a hit.
This is the most ghoulish conversation.
Thank you.
Nothing really.
The kid, Junior, that is, will be right down, unless you'd like to take her drink up to her.
I can always get a fresh one. Karen, you're a Gibson girl.
General atmosphere is very Macbethish. What has or is about to happen?
What is he talking about?
Macbeth.
We know you. We've seen you like this before. Is it over or is it just beginning?
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Woo! Time Carrie for Instagram.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Excellent. Margot, darling, darling.
Darlings. I distinctly remember striking your name from the guest list. What are you doing here?
Dear Margot, you were an unforgettable Peter Pan. You must play it again soon. You remember Miss Caswell?
I do not. How do you do?
Blondie.
Oh, it's my fault. Sorry, I had her muted. My
What?
fault. My fault.
We never met, that's why.
Miss Caswell is an actress, a graduate of the Copacabana School of Dramatic Arts. Eve.
Good evening, Mr. DeWitt.
I had no idea you two knew each other.
This must be at long last our formal introduction. Until now, we have met only in passing.
That's how we met, in passing.
Eve, this is an old friend of Mr. DeWitt's mother, Miss Caswell. Miss Harrington? Addison, I've been wanting you to meet Eve for the longest time.
It could only have been your natural timidity that kept you from mentioning it.
You heard of her great interest in the theater.
We have that in common.
You two must have a long talk.
I'm afraid Mr. DeWitt would find me boring before too long.
You won't bore him, honey. You won't even get to talk.
Claudia, dear, come closer. This is Max Fabian. He is a producer. Go do yourself some good.
Why do they always look like unhappy rabbits?
Because that is what they are. Go make him happy. You mustn't worry about your little charge. She is in safe hands.
The interior of Margot's living room at night. It's many martinis later. Most of the guests have gone. The party has reached that static state. Everyone's assumed more or less permanent places. Bertie passes carrying a cup of coffee. Camera follows her to the piano where Margot sits in the bench beside the pianist. He is just finishing Lieberstrom. I was going to play Lieberstrom over there.
Oh.
Lieberstrom,
I just played it,
play it again.
but that was the fourth straight time.
Then this will be 5. I suppose you think I'm too drunk to count.
No, you're just crazy about Lieberstrom.
Lieberstrom.
Look, Miss Channing, it's kind of depressing. If you don't mind my saying so, everybody is kind of dying on the vine.
My dear Mr. Horvitz, in the first place, I am paying you union scale. In the second place, it's my piano. Third, if everybody doesn't like dying on the vine, they can get off the vine and go home. Lieberstrom.
Many of your guests have been wondering when they may be permitted to view the body.
On brand.
Where has it been laid out?
It hasn't been laid out. We haven't finished with the embalming. As a matter of fact, you're looking at it. The remains of Margot Channing, sitting up. It's my last wish to be buried sitting up.
Wouldn't you feel more natural taking a bow?
You know nothing about feelings, natural or unnatural.
Then, without feeling, your guests were also wondering whether the music couldn't be a shade more on the, shall we say, happier side.
If my guests don't like it here, then I suggest they accompany you to the nursery. Well, I'm sure they will all feel more at home.
Margot, you by any chance got any bicarbonate of soda in the house?
Poor Max. Heartburn? I know that Miss Caswell. I know why she doesn't give Addison heartburn. I don't know why she doesn't give Addison heartburn.
No heart to burn.
Everybody has a heart, except some people. Of course, I've got a bicarb. There's a box in the pantry, and we'll put your name on it, Max Fabian. It'll say, stay there, always, just for you.
Let the rest of the world beat their brains out for a buck. It's a friend that count, and I've got friends.
I love you, Max. I really mean it. I love you. Come to the pantry.
She loves me like a father. Also, she's loaded.
Interior of the pantry at night. It's a good signs one. In the BG, the caterers are packing dishes, glassware, etc. Margot crosses to a cupboard. She finds the bicarb.
Here you are, Maxie dear. One good burp and you'll be rid of that Miss Caswell.
The situation I'm in ain't the kind you can belch your way out of. I made a promise.
Miss Caswell? What?
An audition for the part we're replacing. What's her name? Your sister.
Well, if she can act, she might not be bad. She looks like she might burn down a plantation.
I feel right now like there's one burning in me.
When's the audition?
Couple of weeks.
I tell you what, why don't I read with her?
Would you?
Anything to help you out, Max.
This is real cooperation. I appreciate it.
Not at all. Would you do me a big favor if you would
All you have to do is name it.
give Eve Harrington a job in your office? You get quick action, don't you?
Margot, I wouldn't think of taking that girl away from you.
You said yourself my inventory was in good shape, all of my merchandise put away. To keep her here with nothing to do, I'd be standing in her way. You need her, Max.
But what could she do?
Oh, she'd be great help. Read scripts, interview people you have to see, get rid of ones of you don't have to. You'd be a man of leisure.
Well,
Think of your health, Max. More time to relax out in the fresh air at the racetrack.
I don't know if this would be a wise move.
Promise.
I promise.
That's my Max. Where is she?
Up in the room.
Yes,
pardon me.
yes.
Excuse me.
There you are, both of you. Max, Karen has decided it's time to go.
Where is she?
She's up in the room.
If you'll
It's really-
excuse me, I'll tell Miss Caswell.
Who's left out there?
Too many. And you've got you've got a new guest, a movie star from Hollywood.
Shucks, and my autograph book is at the cleaners. You disapprove of me when I'm like this, don't you?
Not exactly. Sometimes, though, I wish I understood you better.
When you do, let me in on it.
I will.
How's the new one coming?
The play? All right, I guess.
Cora, she's still a girl of 20?
20-ish. That's not important.
Don't you think it's time it became important?
How do you mean?
Don't be evasive.
Margot, you haven't got any age.
Miss Channing is ageless, spoken like a press agent.
I know what I'm talking about. After all, they're my plays.
Spoken like an author. Lloyd, I'm not 20-ish. I'm not 30-ish. 3 months ago, I was 40 years old. 40. 40. That slipped out. I hadn't quite made up my mind to admit it. Now I feel as if I'd suddenly taken all my clothes off.
Week after week to thousands of people, you're as young as you want.
And as young as they want, you mean? And I'm not interested in whether thousands of people think I'm 6 or 600.
Just one person. Isn't that so? You know, what is this all about? You know what this is all about, don't you? It has very little to do with whether you should play Cora. It has everything to do with the fact that you've had another fight with Bill.
Bill's 32. He looks 32. He looked at 5 years ago, and he'll look at 20 years from now. I hate men. Don't worry, Lloyd. I'll play your play. I'll wear rompers and come in rolling a hoop if you like. Let's go say goodnight.
Imagine to know every night that different hundreds of people love you. They smile, their eyes shine. You've pleased them. They want you. You belong. Anything's worth that.
Don't get up. And stop acting as if I were the Queen Mother.
Fade out, fade in. Exterior of a New York theater street at day. Margot gets out of a cab in front of the theater and goes in. It's Friday afternoon. No performance.
What was it the wise man said? This too will pass away. 2 weeks later, the day of the audition, all was well with Bill and me, the world and me.
Interior lobby and foyer of the Koran Theater. Margot comes in off the street through the lobby and into the deserted foyer. She spots Addison sprawled on one of the sofas.
Why so remote, Addison? I should think you'd be at the side of your protege, lending moral support.
Miss Caswell at the moment is where I can lend no support, moral or otherwise.
The ladies, shall we say, lounge?
Being violently ill to her tummy.
It's good luck before an audition. Yeah, she'll be all right once it starts.
Miss Caswell got lucky too late. The audition is over.
Over. It can't be. I've come to read with her. I promised Max.
The audition was called for 2:30. It is now nearly 4.
Is it really? I must start wearing a watch. I never do, you know. Who read with Miss Caswell? Bill? Lloyd? Well, it couldn't have been Max. Who?
Naturally enough, your understudy.
I consider it highly unnatural to allow a girl in an advanced state of pregnancy.
I refer to your new and unpregnant understudy, Eve Harrington.
Eve, my understudy.
Didn't you know?
Of course I knew.
It just slipped your mind.
How was Miss Caswell?
Frankly, I don't remember.
Just slipped your mind.
Completely. Nor, I am sure, could anyone else present tell you how Miss Caswell read or whether Miss Caswell read or wrote a pogo stick.
Was she that bad?
Margot, as you know, I have lived in the theater as a Trappist monk lives in his faith. And once in a great while, I experienced that moment of revelation for which all true believers wait and pray. You were one. Jean Eagle's another, Paula Wesley Hayes, there are others, 3 or 4. Eve Harrington will be among them.
I take it she read well.
It wasn't reading, it was a performance. Brilliant, vivid, something made of music and fire.
How nice.
In time, she'll be what you are.
A mass of music and fire, that's me. An old kazoo and some sparkles. Tell me, was Bill swept away too, or were you too full of revelation to notice?
Bill didn't say, but Lloyd was beside himself. He listened to his play as if it were something else, as if someone else had written it. He said it sounded so fresh, so new, so full of meaning.
How nice for Lloyd. How nice for Eve. How nice for everybody.
Eve was incredibly modest. She insisted that no credit was due her, that Lloyd felt as he did only because she read lines exactly as he had written them.
The implication being that I haven't been reading them as written?
To the best of my recollection, neither your name nor your performance entered the conversation. Ah, feeling better, my dear?
Like I just swam the English Channel. Now what?
Your next move, it seems to me, should be towards television.
Tell me this. Do they have auditions for television?
That's all television is, my dear. Nothing but audition.
Still true.
Terribly sorry I'm late. Lunch was long and I couldn't find a cab. Where's Miss Caswell? Shall we start? Oh, hello, Eve.
Hello, Miss Channing.
How are you making out in Mr. Fabian's office? I don't want you working the child too hard, Max, because you promised. As you see, I kept my promise too.
It's all over.
What's all over?
The audition.
Eve? How enchanting. Where did you get the idea of having Eve read with Miss Caswell?
She's your understudy.
Eve? Eve, my understudy, but I had no idea.
I thought you knew. She was put on over a week ago.
It seems almost inconceivable that I haven't seen her backstage, but with so many people loitering around, well. Eve is not working for Max after all. Max, you sly puss.
Miss Channing, I can't tell you how glad I am that you arrived so late.
Really, Eve? Why?
Well, if you had been here to begin with, I wouldn't have dared to read at all.
Why not?
And if you'd come in the middle, I'd have stopped. I couldn't have gone on.
What a pity, all that fire and music being turned off.
What fire and music?
You wouldn't understand. How was Miss Caswell?
Back to Copacabana. But Eve. Margot, let me tell you about Eve.
I was dreadful, Miss Channing. Believe me, I have no right to be anyone's understudy, much less yours.
I'm sure you underestimate yourself, Eve. You always do. You were about to tell me about Eve.
You'd have been proud of her.
I'm sure.
She was a revelation.
To you too.
What do you mean?
I mean, among so many other things, it must have been a revelation to have a 24-year-old character played by a 24-year-old actress.
That's beside the point.
It's right to the point. Also, it must have sounded so new and fresh to you, and exciting to have lines read as you wrote them.
Addison!
So full of meaning and fire and music.
You've been talking to that venomous fishwife, Addison DeWitt.
In this case, apparently as trustworthy as the World Almanac.
You knew when you came in that the audition was over, that Eve was your understudy, playing the childish game of cat and mouse.
Not mouse, never mouse. If anything, rat.
You have a genius for making barroom brawl out of a perfectly innocent misunderstanding at most.
Perfectly innocent. Men have been hanged for less. I'm lied to, attacked behind my back, accused of reading your silly dialogue inaccurately if it were the holy gospel.
I never said it was.
Then you listened as if someone else had written your play. Whom did you have in mind? Sherwood, Arthur Miller, Beaumont, and Fletcher?
May I say a word?
No. What makes you think that either Miller or Sherwood would stand for this nonsense I take from you? You better stick to Beaumont and Fletcher. They've been dead for 300 years.
And they're getting better performances today than they ever got. All playwrights should be dead for 300 years.
That would solve none of their problems because actresses never die. The stars never die and never change.
You can't change. You can change this star anytime you want. For a new, fresh, exciting one, fully equipped with fire and music. Anytime you want, starting with tonight's performance.
This is for lawyers to talk about. This concerns a run-of-the-play contract, and this you can't rewrite or ad-lib.
Are you threatening me with legal action, Mr. Fabian?
Are you breaking the contract?
Answer my question.
Who am I to threaten? I'm a dying man.
I didn't hear from you.
I said I'm a dying man.
Not until the last drugstore has sold its last pill.
I shall never understand the weird process by which a body with voice suddenly fancies itself a mind. Just when exactly does an actress decide that her words she's saying and her thoughts she's expressing?
Usually at the point where she's got to rewrite and rethink them to keep the audience from leaving the theater.
It's about time the piano realized it has not written the concerto.
And you, I take it, are the Paderewski who plays his concerto on me, the piano? Where is Princess Fire and Music?
Who?
The kid, Junior.
Gone.
I must have frightened her away.
I wouldn't be surprised. Sometimes you frighten me.
Poor little flower. Just dropped her petals and folded her tint.
Don't mix your metaphors.
I'll mix what I like.
Okay, mix.
I'm nothing but a body with a voice, no mind.
What a body. What a voice.
Ex-ship news reporter. No body, no voice, all mine.
The gong rang. The fight's over. Calm down.
I will not calm down.
Don't calm down.
You're being terribly tolerant, aren't you?
I'm trying terribly hard.
Well, you needn't. I will not be tolerated, and I will not be plotted against.
Here we go.
Such nonsense. What did you take me for, little Nell from the country? Been my understudy for over a week without my knowing, carefully hidden, no doubt.
Now don't get carried away.
Shows up for an audition when everybody knew I'd be here, and gives a performance out of nowhere, gives a performance.
You've been all through that with Lloyd.
The playwright doesn't make the performance, and it doesn't just happen. And this one didn't, full of fire and music and whatnot. It was carefully rehearsed, I have no doubt, over and over, and full of those Bill Sampson touches.
I am sick and tired of these paranoid outbursts.
Paranoid?
I didn't know Eve Harrington was your understudy until 2:30 this afternoon.
Tell that to Dr. Freud along with the rest of it.
No, I'll tell it to you. For the last time, I'll tell it to you because you've got to stop hurting yourself and me and the two of us by these paranoid tantrums.
That word again, I don't even know what it means.
It's time you found out. I love you. I love you. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman. A beautiful and intelligent woman and a great actress. At the peak of her career, you have every reason for happiness.
Except happiness.
Every reason. But due to some strange, uncontrollable, unconscious drive, you permit the slightest action of a kid like Eve to turn you into a hysterical, screaming harpy. Now, once and for all, stop it.
It's obvious you're not a woman.
I've been aware of that for some time.
Well, I am.
I'll say.
Don't be condescending.
Come on, get up. I'll buy you a drink.
I admit I may have seen better days, but I'm not to be had for the price of a cocktail, like a salt and peanut.
Margot, let's make peace.
The terms are too high, unconditional surrender.
Just being happy? Just stopping all this nonsense about Eve and Eve and me.
It's not nonsense.
But if I tell you it is, as I just did, were you listening to me? Is that enough?
I wish it were.
Then what would be enough? If we were married?
I wouldn't want you to marry me just to prove something.
You've had so many reasons for not wanting to marry me. Margot, tell me what's behind all this.
I don't know, Bill. Just a feeling. I don't know.
I think you do know, but you won't or can't tell me. I said it before. It was gonna be my last try, and I meant it. I can't think of anything else to do. I wish I could. We usually wind up screaming and throwing things as the curtain comes down. Then it comes up again and everything's fine. But not this time. You know, there isn't a playwright in the world who could make me believe this would happen between two adult people. Goodbye, Margot.
Bill, where are you going? To find Eve?
That suddenly makes the whole thing believable.
On the day of the audition, my biggest worry was to keep a banana looking part of an eggplant. Then Lloyd came home. It was right after his brawl with Margot. Lloyd, what happened?
Up to here. That's where I've got you. Where I've got it. Up to here. Of all the star-ridden, presumptuous, hysterical.
Oh, Margot again.
And again, 2 hours late for the audition to begin with.
That's on time for Margot.
The childish, heavy-handed routine about not knowing Eve was her understudy.
It's just impossible she didn't.
Of course she knew. For one thing, Addison told her how superbly Eve had read the part. Karen, let me tell you about Eve. She's got everything. A born actress, sensitive, understanding, young, exciting, vibrant.
Don't run out of adjectives, dear.
Everything a playwright first thinks of wanting to write about, until his play becomes a vehicle for Miss Channing.
Margot has not done badly by it.
Margot's great. She knows it. That's the trouble. She can play bad boy all she wants. And who's about to stop her? Who's to give her that boot in the rear and that she needs and deserves?
It's going to be a cozy weekend.
What is?
Well, we're driving out to the country tomorrow night. Just the four of us. Bill, Margot, you, and I.
Well, we spent weekends before with nobody talking. Just be sure to lock up all blunt instruments and throwable objects.
Newton, they say, thought of gravity by getting hit on the head by an apple. And the man who invented the steam engine, he was watching a tea kettle. But not me. My big idea came to me just sitting on the couch. That book in the rear to Margot. Heaven knows she had one coming. For me, from Lloyd, from Eve, from Bill, Max, and so on. We'd all felt those size 5s of hers often enough. But how? The answer was buzzing around me like a fly. I had it, but I'd let it go. Screaming and calling names is one thing, but this could mean, why not? Why, I said to myself, why not? It would all seem perfectly legitimate. And there were only 2 people in the world who would know. Also, the boot would land where it would do the most good and for all concerned. And after all, it was not more than a perfectly harmless joke, which Margot herself would be the first to enjoy. And no reason why she shouldn't be told about it in time. Hello? Will you call Miss Eve Harrington to the phone, please? Not at all, thank you.
Exterior of the countryside at night. Open country, preferably no houses in sight, plenty of snow. Lloyd's car drives along.
It was a cold weekend, outside and in. Bill didn't come at all. Margot didn't know where she was and somehow didn't care. She kept saying, somehow we staggered through Sunday, and by the time we drive, Margot to the station, late Monday afternoon, she and Lloyd had thawed out to the extent of being civil to each other. What time is it?
And you asked a minute ago, it was 5:42. It's now 5:43. You ask a minute from now, it will be...
I just don't want Margot to miss her train. As it is, she'll barely make it to theater.
5:55. We'll be at the station in plenty of time.
That little place just 2 hours from New York. It's on my list of things I'll never understand, like collecting shrunken Indian heads.
Oh, of all people, you should know what it means to want some peace and quiet.
Peace and quiet is for libraries.
Lloyd, please be careful.
It's just a little skid, that's all. This road's like glass.
Karen and I just don't want an accident.
That's you.
I have no intention of having an accident.
It's not important whether you do. We are wearing long underwear.
Now, what's this? But it can't be. It can't be out of gas. I filled it myself yesterday. Wasn't it full when you drove to Brewster this morning?
I guess I didn't look. You know, I don't pay attention to those things.
Incredible.
How much time have we?
Oh,
far
roughly 10 minutes.
How far to the station?
3-4 miles?
Any houses or farms around where we can borrow gas?
None in sight. There aren't many along this back road.
Not many cars either. Not much of a chance of a lift.
Well, no sense my just sitting here. I'm going to walk about half a mile, just in case.
You'll break your neck on that ice.
What a way to die. I'm trying to get an actress to the theater in time. Tell Max I want to be buried with royalties.
Don't joke about such things.
How fortunate that I have an understudy so ready, so willing, so able to go on.
The audience will want its money refunded, believe me.
Thank you, Lloyd. Godspeed.
He always looks so pathetic whenever he does anything physical.
It seems to me that walking for most people is not very dangerous.
I just never think of Lloyd as anywhere but indoors and anything but sitting down.
Be brave, he'll come back with or without gas. Do you want it on?
Ugh, it doesn't matter.
I detest cheap sentiment.
Come here, Fizzy.
Karen, I haven't been pleasant this weekend.
We've all seemed a little tense lately.
Come to think of it, I haven't been very pleasant for weeks. And for that, I'm truly sorry. More than any two people I know, I don't want you and Lloyd to be angry with me.
Oh, we're never deeply angry. We just get sore the way you do. We know you too well.
So many people know me. I wish I did. I wish someone would tell me about me.
Oh, you're Margot, just Margot.
And what is that, besides something spelled out in light bulbs, I mean? Besides something called temperament, which consists mostly of swooping about on a broomstick, craning at the top of my voice. Infants behave the way I do, you know. They carry on and misbehave, and they'd get drunk if they knew how. And when they can't have what they want, they feel unwanted, insecure, or unloved.
What about Bill?
What about Bill?
Well, he's in love with you.
More than anything in the world, I love Bill, and I want Bill. I want him to want me. But me, not Margot Channing. And if I can't tell them apart, how can he?
Well, why should he? And why should you?
Bill's in love with Margot Channing. He's fought with her, worked with her, loved her. But 10 years from now, Margot Channing will cease to exist. And what's left will be what?
Margot. Bill is all of 8 years younger than you.
Those years stretch as the years go on. I've seen it happen too often.
No, not to you, not to Bill.
Isn't that what they always say? I don't suppose the heater runs with the motor on, doesn't?
Silly, isn't it? You'd think they just fix it so people could just sit in the car and keep warm.
About Eve. I've acted pretty disgracefully toward her, too.
Well,
let's not fumble for excuses. Not here, not with my hair down. At best, let's say I've been oversensitive to the fact that she's so young, and so feminine, and so helpless. So many things that I want to be for Bill. Funny business, a woman's career. The things you drop on your way up the ladder so you can move faster. You'll forget you'll need them again when you go back to being a woman. That's one career all females have in common, whether we like it or not, being a woman. Sooner or later, we've all got to work at it. And no matter what other careers we've had or wanted, in the last analysis, nothing is any good unless you can look up just before dinner or turn around in bed, and there he is. Without that, you're not a woman. You're something with a French provincial office or a book full of clippings. But you're not a woman. Slow curtain. The end.
Margot. Margot, I want you to know how sorry I am about this.
About what?
This. I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Don't give it another thought. One of destiny's many pranks. After all, you didn't personally train out the gasoline tank.
She's the worst.
Here at the theater alley, Koran, at night. The snow has been shoveled to either side of the alley, making a lane. The performance is just over. Addison, his back to us, stands looking toward the stage door. A few actors on their way out.
Eve, of course, was superb. Many of the audience understandably preferred to return another time to see Margot, but those who remained cheered loudly, lustily, and long for Eve. How thoughtful of her to call and invite me that afternoon. And what a happy coincidence that several representatives of other newspapers happened to be present. All of us invited that afternoon to attend an understudy's performance, about which the management knew nothing until they were forced to ring up the curtain at 9 o'clock. Coincidence. Also, every indication of intrigue, skullduggery, and fraud.
You were better than all right, kid. You gave a performance. You rang a bell. Little things here and there. It doesn't matter. You can be proud of yourself. You got a right to be.
Are you proud of me, Bill?
I'll admit I was worried when Max called. I had my doubts.
You shouldn't have had any doubts.
After all, the other day was one scene. The woods are full of one scene sensations. But you did it. With work and patience, you'll be a fine actress, if that's what you want to be.
Is that what you want me to be?
I'm talking about you and what you want.
So am I.
What have I got to do with it?
Everything.
The names I've been called, but never Svengali. Good luck.
Don't run away, Bill.
From what would I be running?
You're always after the truth. On the stage? What about off?
I'm for it.
Then face it. I have, since that first night here in the dressing room.
When I told you what every young actress should know,
When you told me that whatever I became, it would be because of you.
your makeup's a little heavy.
And for you,
You're quite a girl.
you think?
I'm in love with Margot, hadn't you heard?
I hear all kinds of things.
I'm only human. Rumors to the contrary, and I'm as curious as the next man.
Find out.
Only thing, what I go after, I want to go after. I don't want it to come after me. Don't cry. Just score it as an incomplete forward pass.
He walks out. Addison ducks to avoid being seen. Eve glares after Bill. Tears tears the wig from her head, throws it on the dressing table. Addison knocks politely at the door. Eve turns.
May I come in?
Certainly, Mr. DeWitt.
I expected to find this little room overcrowded with a theater full of people at your feet.
I consider myself lucky they didn't throw things.
Of course, your performance was no surprise to me. After the other day, I regard it as no more than a promise fulfilled.
You're more than kind. But it's still Miss Channing's performance. I'm just a carbon copy you read when you can't find the original.
You're more than modest.
It's not modesty. I just don't try to kid myself.
A revolutionary approach to the theater. However, if I may, a suggestion?
Please do.
I think the time has come for you to shed some of your humility. It is just a false not to blow your horn. It is just as false not to blow your horn at all as it is to blow it too loudly.
I don't think I've done anything to sound off about.
We all come into this world with our little egos equipped with individual horns. If we don't blow them, who will?
Even so, one isolated, pretty good performance by an understudy. It'll be forgotten tomorrow.
It needn't be.
Even if I wanted to, as you say, be less humble, blow my own horn, how would I do it? I'm less than nobody.
I am somebody.
You certainly are.
Leave the door open a bit so we can talk. After you change, if you're not busy elsewhere, we can have supper.
I'd love to, or should I pretend I'm busy?
Let's have a minimum of pretending. I'll want to do a column about you.
I'm not enough for a paragraph.
Perhaps more than one. There's so much I want to know. I've heard your story in bits and pieces. Your home in Wisconsin, your tragic marriage, your financial attachment to Margot. It started in San Francisco, didn't it? I say your idolatry to Margot started in San Francisco, didn't it?
That's right.
San Francisco, an oasis of civilization in the California desert. Tell me, do you share my high opinion of San Francisco?
Yes, I do.
And that memorable night when Margot first dazzled you from the stage, which theater was it in San Francisco? The Schubert?
Yes, the Schubert.
A fine old theater, the Schubert. Full of tradition, untouched by the earthquake, fire. By the way, What was your husband's name?
Eddie,
Eddie what?
I'm about to go into the shower. I won't be able to hear you.
I can wait. Where would you like to go? We'll make this a special night.
You take charge.
I believe I will.
52nd Street, New York at night. A cab drives up to 21.
Some of the morning papers carried a little squib about Eve's performance. Not much, but full praise. I couldn't imagine how they found out about it, but Lloyd said Max's publicity man probably sent out the story. At any rate, I feel terribly guilty and ashamed of myself, and wanted nothing so much as to forget the whole thing. Margot and I were having lunch at 21, just like girlfriends, with hats on. Has Miss Channing come in?
Not yet, Mrs. Richards.
Eve, I've heard the most wonderful things about your performance.
Mostly relief that I managed to stagger through it all.
She was magnificent.
Oh, then you've heard too.
I was there, an eyewitness.
You were there at the play last night?
A happy coincidence.
We're having lunch with the movie talent scout.
Oh, they certainly don't waste much time.
Nothing definite yet. It's just to have lunch.
They'll be wasting this much of their time at any rate. Eve has no intention of going to Hollywood. From the smartness of your dress, I take it your lunching companion is a lady.
Margot.
Margot, lunching in public.
It's new, Margot, but she's just as light as the old one.
She may be later than you think.
Hmm.
Why not read my column to pass the time? The minutes will fly like hours. And now we must join our sunburned, eager beaver.
He goes upstairs with Eve. Karen glances after them curiously, then at the column. It's headed Things I Promised Not to Tell by Addison DeWitt. Interior of Margot's living room at day. Addison's column quivers in Margot's hand as she strides about reading it. Karen sits miserably.
And my hat, which has lo these many seasons become firmly rooted about my ears, is lifted to Miss Harrington. I am once more available for dancing in the streets and shouting from the housetops. I thought that one went out with Woolcott. Down here, listen to this. Miss Harrington has much to tell. These columnists shall report her faithfully about the lamentable practice in our theater of permitting, shall we say, mature actresses to continue playing roles requiring a youth and a vigor of which they retain but a dim memory.
I just can't believe it.
Oh, it's better. About the understandable reluctance on the part of our entrenched first ladies of the stage to encourage, shall we say, younger actresses, about Miss Harrington's own long, unsupported struggle for opportunity.
I cannot believe Eve said those things.
In this rat race, everybody's guilty till they're proved innocent. One of the differences between theater and civilization, what gets me is how all these papers in town happen to catch that particular performance.
Lloyd says it's a publicity release.
That little witch must have had Indian runners out snatching critics from bars, steam rooms, and museums, or wherever they hole up. Well, now she won't get away with it, nor will Addison DeWitt and his poison pen. If Equity or my lawyer can't or won't do anything about it, I will personally stuff that pathetic lost lamb down Mr. DeWitt's ugly throat.
I came as soon as I read that piece of filth. I ran all the way. Bill's here, baby. Everything's all right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I just need a second. I guess at this point,
That is the sweet part.
I'm sorry. It was just unexpectedly wonderful. I guess at this point, I'm what the French call de trop.
Maybe just a little around the edges.
It's Addison. From start to finish, it drips with his brand of venom. Take advantage of a kid like that. twisting her words, making her say what he wanted her to say.
Where'd you get all that information?
Eve,
Eve?
she's been to see me. As a matter of fact, she just left before you came in. You just missed her.
Oh, that was a pity.
She wanted to explain about her interview, wanted to apologize to someone. She didn't dare face Margot.
I wonder why.
She started to tell me all about it. She couldn't finish. She cried so. You know, I've been going over our financial condition, if you'll pardon the expression.
That's quite a change of subject.
Well, what with taxes coming up, and since I'm a playwright and not an oil well operator, well, I've been thinking,
I'm trying very hard to follow you.
if instead of waiting until next season to do Footsteps on the Column
Uh-huh.
on the ceiling, which is in pretty good shape,
Uh-huh.
and if Margot can be talked into going on tour with Aged in Wood, you could put Footsteps into production right away.
Oh, I'm beginning to catch up.
Well, if we could cast it perfectly, that is.
Maybe get some younger actress for the part, someone who'd look the part as well as play it.
Well, you've got to admit it would be a novelty.
Now you're quoting Edison DeWitt or Eve.
Eve did mention the play, you know, but just in passing. She's never asked to play a part like Cora. She'd never have the nerve.
Eve would ask Abbott to give her a Stello.
Costello.
Costello.
No, I got the idea myself while she was talking to me.
With gestures, of course.
Well, for once to write something and have it realized completely. For once not to compromise.
Lloyd Richards, you are not to consider giving that contemptible little worm the part of Cora.
Now, just a minute.
Margot Channing has not been exactly a compromise all these years. Half the playwrights in the world would give their shirts for that particular compromise.
Now, just a minute.
It strikes me that Eve's disloyalty and ingratitude must be contagious.
All this fuss and hysteria because the impulsive kid got carried away by excitement and the conniving of a professional manure slinger named DeWitt. She apologized, didn't she?
On her knees, I have no doubt. Very touching. Very Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Why are you yelling so much? That bitter cynicism of yours is something you've acquired since you left Radcliffe.
The cynicism you refer to, I acquired the day I discovered that I was different from little boys.
Hello. Hi, Margot. No, not at all. Karen and I were just chatting. Why, yes, I'm sure we can. I'm sure we'd love to. Right, 11:45-ish. Yes, see you then. Margot and Bill want us to meet them at the Cub Room tonight after theater for a bottle of wine.
Margot, in the Cub Room. I couldn't be more surprised if she'd said Grant's tomb.
I'm glad Bill's back.
They'd die without each other.
Darling, I didn't promise Eve anything. Just that I thought she'd be fine for the part. But there were some practical difficulties.
Such as?
You, for one. I told her you were set on Margot playing the part, and I certainly wouldn't make a change without your approval.
That's fine. Fine and dandy. I'd enjoy nothing more. Just refer all of Miss Harrington's future requests to me.
Cut to the interior of the Cub Room Stork Club at night. Margot, Karen, Bill, and Lloyd are ensconced happily at a table in the rear of the room. A bottle of fine wine is being poured. Their mood is equally bubbly.
The so-called art of acting is not one for which I have particularly high regard.
Here.
But you may quote me as follows, quote, "Tonight, Miss Margot Channing gave a performance in your cockamamie play, the like of which I have never seen before and expect rarely to see again," unquote.
He does not exaggerate. I was good.
You were great.
Went down too far anyways.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Just
That's my fault.
pardon me. It's been quite a night. I understand that your understudy, Miss Harrington, has given her notice.
Too bad.
I'm broken up about it.
For some reasons, you can't just pick up champagne and drink it. Someone's got to be very witty about a toast. For instance,
I'm going to propose the toast without wit, with all my heart. To Margot, to my bride-to-be.
Glory, hallelujah.
Well, of all.
Margot,
Drink.
when? When are you going to do it?
Tomorrow we meet at City Hall at 10. And you're not going to be on time. Oh, and you're going to be on time.
City Hall, that's for prize fighters and reporters. See a cathedral, a bishop, banks of flowers.
It's only for the license. There's a 3-day wait. Blood tests, things like that.
I'll marry you if it turns out you have no blood at all.
3 days, that's for the bourgeois. See a midnight elopement. Waking up a village person.
What are you going to wear?
Something simple, a fur coat over a nightgown.
The point is, in the cathedral, a ballpark, or a penny arcade, we want to have you two besides us, our nearest and dearest friends.
There are very few moments in life as good as this. Let's remember it. To each of us and all of us, never have we been more close. May we never be farther apart.
Mrs. Richards,
Yes?
for you.
Very discreet. A note right out in the open like that. Next time, tell your lover to blow smoke rings or tap a glass.
Lloyd, I want you to be big about this. The world is full of love tonight, and no woman is safe.
This beats all world records for running, standing, and jumping gall.
Please forgive me for butting into what seems such a happy occasion, but it's most important that I speak with you, please. It's underlined, meet me in the ladies' room. Eve.
I understand she is now the understudy in there.
Pass me the empty bottle, I may find her. Why, look, there's Rasputin.
Addison sits near the entrance. Margot hails a passing captain.
Encore du champagne.
More champagne, Miss Channing.
That's what I said, Bob.
After all,
After all, maybe she just wants to apologize.
I have no possible interest in anything she'd have to say.
But what could she say? That's what fascinates me.
Go on, find out.
Karen, in all our years of friendship, I have never let you go to the ladies' room alone. But I must. I am bustling to know what goes on in that feverish little brain waiting there.
Well, all right.
Ah, Karen, how nice.
Very effective. But why take it out on me?
Interior of the ladies' room at the Stork Club.
I was wondering whether you'd come at all.
Don't get up. And don't act as if I were the Queen Mother.
I don't expect you to be pleasant.
I don't intend to be.
Can't we sit down just for a minute?
I've got a lot to say, and none of it is easy. Oh, that's Eve. I'm sorry.
It's okay, no worries. I've got a lot to say, and none of it is easy.
There can't be very much.
Oh, but there is.
And easy or not, I won't believe a word.
Why shouldn't you? But please sit down. You know, I've always considered myself a very clever girl. Smart. Good head on my shoulders, that sort of thing. Never the wrong word at the wrong time. But then I'd never met Addison DeWitt. I remember once I had a tooth pulled. They gave me some anesthetic. I don't remember the name, and it affected me in a strange way. I heard myself saying things I wasn't even thinking, as if my mind were someplace outside of my body and couldn't control what I did or said.
And you felt just like that talking to Addison?
In a way, you find yourself trying to say what you mean, but somehow the words change and they become his words. And suddenly you're not saying what you mean, but what he means.
Do you expect me to believe that you didn't say any of those things, that they were all Addison?
No, I don't expect you to believe anything, except that the responsibility is mine and the disgrace.
Let's not get overdramatic.
You've really got a low opinion of me, haven't you? Well, I'll give you some pleasant news. I've been told off in no uncertain terms all over town. Miss Channing should be happy to hear that, to know how loyal her friends are, how much more loyal they are, then she had a right to expect me to be.
Eve, don't cry.
I'm not crying.
Tell me, how did your lunch turn out with that man from Hollywood?
Some vague promises of a test, that's all. If a particular part should come along, one of those things.
But the raves about your performances?
An understudy's performance.
Well, I think you're painting the picture a little darker than it is, really. I mean, if nothing else, and don't underestimate him, you do have a powerful friend in Addison.
He's not my friend. You were my friends.
He can help you.
I wish I'd never met him. I'd like him to be dead. I want my friends back.
Eve, I don't think you meant to cause unhappiness, even though she did, but you did. More to yourself, perhaps, as it turned out, than to anyone else.
I'll never get over it.
Yes, you will. You theater people always do. Nothing is forever in the theater. Love or hate, success or failure, whatever it is, it's here. It flares up and burns hot, and then it's gone.
I wish I could believe that.
Give yourself some time, and don't worry too much about what people think. You're young, you're very young and very talented, and believe it or not, if there's anything I can do.
There is something.
I think I know.
Something most important you can do.
You want to play Cora. You want me to tell Lloyd that I think you should play it.
If you told him so, he would give me the part. He said his word. He said he would.
After all you said, don't you know that that part was written for Margot?
It could have been 15 years ago. It's my part now.
You talk just as Addison said you did.
Cora is my part. You've got to tell Lloyd it's for me.
I don't think anything in the world could make me say that.
Addison wants me to play it.
Over my dead body.
That won't be necessary. Addison knows how Margot happened to miss that performance, how I happened to know she'd miss it in time to call him and notify every paper in town. It's quite a story. Addison could make quite a thing of it. Imagine how snide and vicious he could get and still write nothing but the truth. I had a time persuading him. You'd better sit down. You look a bit wobbly. If I play Cora, Addison will never tell what happened, in or out of print. A simple exchange of favors, and I'm so happy I can do something for you. At long last. Your friendship with Margot, your deep, close friendship, what would happen to it? Do you think if she knew the chap trick you played on her for my benefit, and you and Lloyd, how long even in the theater before people
Is that us?
I think I missed her.
Is that us?
No, I think I've got a bad connection.
That is us.
then
I can't hear anything. Sorry, guys.
you
Hello?
no, it would be much easier.
Okay.
Oh, we lost Holly. Oh no, we lost Eve. Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh,
no.
Do it.
it would be so much easier for everyone concerned if I play Cora.
Okay.
Dizzy's a theater dog.
There she is.
Okay, sorry about
Hi.
that. Internet is all over the place. Okay.
She's a theater dog. You want to finish your monologue? Or
Yeah, so no, it would be so much easier on everyone concerned if I were to play Cora, and so much better theater too.
Part in a play. You do all that just for a part in a play.
I do much more for a part that good.
Interior of the cub room. Eve enters and slides in beside Addison.
Hungry?
Just some coffee.
I'm not surprised after all that humble pie.
Nothing of that kind. Karen and I had a nice talk.
Heart to heart, woman to woman, including a casual reference to the part of Cora and your hopes of playing it.
I discussed it very openly. I told her that I had spoken to Lloyd and that he was interested.
She mentioned, of course, that Margot expects to play the part.
Oddly enough, she didn't say a word about Margot, just that she'll be happy to do what she can to see that I play the part.
Just like that, eh?
Just like that.
Do you know, Eve, sometimes I think you keep things from me.
I don't think that's funny.
It wasn't meant to be.
I confide in you and rely on you more than anyone I've ever known. To say a thing like that now, without any reason, when I need you more than ever.
I hope you mean what you say, Eve. I intend to hold you to it. We have a great deal in common, it seems to me.
Return to the group as Karen joins them. Another bottle of champagne has come and almost gone. Karen downs a glass of champagne.
The mute thing, I'm sorry. Sorry, hang on, guys. I'm having a bit of a...
You're on. We can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
What?
It's you, honey.
This one?
Yes.
Quit moving it. Well, what happened?
Nothing much. She apologized.
With tears,
With tears.
but not right away. First, the business of fighting them off. Chin up, stout fellow.
Check.
Very classy stuff, lots of technique.
You mean all this time she'd done nothing but apologize? What did you say?
Oh, not much.
Room. May I have a wedding present?
What would you like? Texas?
I just want everybody to shut up about Eve. Just shut up about Eve. That's all I want. Give Karen more wine. Never have I been so happy. Isn't it a lovely room? The Cub Room. What a lovely, clever name. Where the elite meet. Never have I seen so much elite, all with their eyes on me, waiting for me to crack that little gnome over the noggin with a bottle. But not tonight. Even Eve. I forgive Eve. There they go. There goes Eve. Evil. Eve, evil, little Miss Evil. But what evil men do, how does it go? The groom, something about the good they leave behind. I played it once in rep in Wilkes-Barre.
You've got it backwards, even for Wilkes-Barre.
You know why I forgive Eve? Because she's left good behind, the four of us together like this. It's Eve's fault, and I forgive her. And Bill, especially Bill. Eve did that too.
You know, she probably means well after all.
She's a louse.
Never try to outguess Margot.
You
Yes, dear.
know what I'm going to be?
A cowboy
A married lady.
with the paper to prove it.
I'm going to have a home. Not just a house I'm afraid to stay in, but a man to go with it. I'll look up at 6 o'clock and there he'll be. Remember, Karen?
I remember.
You'll be there, won't you?
Often enough to keep the franchise.
A foursquare, upright, downright, forthright married lady. That's for me. And no more make-believe, on stage or off. Remember, Lloyd, I'm needed now. Grown-up women only. I might even play a mother, only one child, of course, not over 8. Lloyd, will you promise not to be angry with me?
That depends.
I mean, really deeply angry.
I don't think I could be.
Well, I don't want to play Cora.
What?
Now, wait a minute. You're always so touchy about his plays. It isn't the part. It's a great part. And a fine play, but not for me anymore. Not a forthright, upright, downright, forthright married lady.
What's your being married got to do with it?
It means I finally got a life to live. I don't have to play parts I'm too old for just because I've got nothing to do with my nights. I know you've made plans and I'll make it up to you, believe me. I'll go on tour with this one, anything. Only you do understand, don't you, Lloyd?
What's so funny?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Everything. Everything is so funny.
Fade out, fade in. Now, see, that last line is why I say Margot doesn't give up her career for Bill. She changes her career for Bill, but she doesn't give it up for Bill. So
Yeah.
Margot doesn't throw in the towel. So put that in. Fade out, fade in. The interior of the theater at the Grand Theater at Day. Karen is seated unobtrusively in a rear lower box. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're doing footsteps on the ceiling. Karen walks up the side aisle and out of the theater.
Lloyd never got around somehow to asking me whether it was all right with me for Eve to play Cora. Bill, oddly enough, refused to direct the play at first with Eve in it. Lloyd and Max finally won him over. Margot never came to a rehearsal, too much to do around the house, she said. I'd never known Bill and Lloyd to fight as bitterly and as often and always over some business about Eve. Or a move, or the way she read a speech. But then I'd never known Lloyd to meddle as much with Bill's directing, as far as it affected Eve, that is. Somehow Eve kept them going. Bill stuck it out, and Lloyd seemed happy, and I thought it might be best if I skipped rehearsals from then on.
Interior of the Richards' bedroom at night.
It seemed to me I had always known that it would happen, and here it was. I felt helpless. That helplessness when you feel that you have no talent to offer outside of loving your husband. How could I compete? Everything that Lloyd loved about me, he'd gotten used to long ago. Hello? Who's calling, Mr. Richards?
My name wouldn't mean anything. I room across the hall from Eve Harrington, and she isn't well. She's been crying all night, hysterical. She doesn't want a doctor.
Who is it? What's it all about?
Did Miss Harrington tell you to call Mr. Richards?
No, Eve didn't say to call him, but I remember I saw Mr. Richards with her a couple of times, and I thought they being such good friends.
Hello? Hello, this is Lloyd Richards. Where is Eve? Let me talk to her.
She's up in her room, Mr. Richards. I really hate to bother you like this, but the way Eve's been feeling, I'm just worried sick. What with her leaving for New Haven tomorrow and everything.
Tell her not to worry. Tell her I'll be right over.
I'll tell her, Mr. Richards. She hangs up as she moves from the phone. The angle widens to disclose Eve at the foot of the stairs. The girls smile at each other and go upstairs arm in arm. The Richards' bedroom.
Aren't you broadening the duties of playwright just a bit? Rushing off in the middle of the night to like a country doctor? What would you do if, instead of Eve, the leading man had called up to say he was hysterical? Lloyd, I don't want you to go.
I didn't think you would. It seems to me, Karen, that for some time now you've been developing a deep unconcern for the feeling of human beings in general.
I am a human being. I've got some.
And for my feelings in particular, my play, my career, and now for a frightened, hysterical girl on the eve of her first night in the theater.
Have you forgotten about Eve? What she is, what she's done?
Old wives' tales, born of envy and jealousy,
Ugh.
and a phobia against truth.
Then tell me this isn't true, that your concern for your play and career is one thing, and that poor, frightened, hysterical girl another, and that your concern for her has nothing to do with either your play or your career. The first, last, and foremost, your reason for going now is that you want to be with Eve, there, in the morning or high noon, play or no play, wife or no wife. Isn't that true, Lloyd?
Lloyd goes out. Karen looks after him despairingly. Wow, they should have kept that in. That's interesting.
That's good.
That's not an actual
Yeah,
moment.
no.
Exterior of the Schubert Theater in New Haven at day. Addison and Eve stand before the theater, admiring her photo on a lobby display. None of the actors are starred.
To the theater world, New Haven, Connecticut is a short stretch of sidewalk between the Schubert Theater and the Taft Hotel, surrounded by what looks very much like a small city. It is here that managers have what they call out-of-town openings, which are openings for New Yorkers who want to get out of town.
What a day. What a heavenly day.
D-Day.
Just like it.
And tomorrow morning, you will have won your beachhead on the shores of immortality.
Stop rehearsing your column. Isn't it strange, Addison? I thought I'd be panic-stricken, want to run away or something. Instead, I can't wait for tonight to come and go.
Are you that sure of tomorrow?
Aren't you?
Frankly, yes.
It'll be a night to remember. It'll bring to me everything I've ever wanted. The end of an old road and the beginning of a new one.
All paved with diamonds and gold.
You know me better than that.
Paved with what then?
Stars.
Interior corridor of the Taft Hotel.
What time?
Almost 4.
Plenty of time for a nice long nap. We rehearsed most of last night.
You could sleep too, couldn't you?
Why not?
The mark of a true killer. Sleep tonight, rest easy, and come out fighting.
Why'd call me a killer?
Did I say killer? I meant champion. I get my boxing terms mixed.
Addison? Come on in for just a minute, won't you? I've got something to tell you.
Interior of Eve's suite at the Taft Hotel.
Suites are for expense accounts. Aren't you being extravagant?
Max is paying for it. He and Lloyd had a terrific row, but Lloyd insisted. Well, can I fix you a drink?
Also with the reluctant compliments of Max Fabian.
Lloyd, I never have any, and he likes a couple of drinks after we finish, so he sent it up.
Some plain soda. Lloyd must be expecting a record run in New Haven.
That's for tonight. You're invited. We're having everyone up after the performance.
We're?
Lloyd and I.
I find it odd that Karen isn't here for the opening, don't you?
Addison.
She's always been so fantastically devoted to Lloyd. I would imagine that only death or destruction could keep her.
Addison, just a few minutes ago, when I told you this would be a night to remember, that it would bring me to everything I wanted.
Something about an old road ending and a new one starting, paved with stars.
I didn't mean just the theater.
What else?
Lloyd Richards. He's going to leave Karen. We're going to be married.
So that's it. Still just the theater after all.
It's nothing of the kind. Lloyd loves me. I love him.
I know nothing about Lloyd and his loves. I leave those to Louisa May Alcott. But I do know you.
I'm in love with Lloyd.
Lloyd Richards is commercially the most successful playwright in America
You have no right to say such things.
and artistically the most promising. Eve, dear, this is Addison.
Addison, won't it be just perfect Lloyd and I? There's no telling how far we can go. He'll write great plays for me. I'll make them be great. You're the only one I've told, the only one that knows except Lloyd and me.
And Karen.
She doesn't know.
She knows enough not to be here.
But not all of it. Not that Lloyd and I are going to be married.
I see. And when was this unholy alliance joined?
We decided the night before last, before we came up here.
Was the setting properly romantic? The lights on dimmers, gypsy violins off stage?
The setting wasn't romantic, but Lloyd was. He woke me up at 3 a.m, banging on my door. He couldn't sleep. He told me he's left Karen. He couldn't go on with the play, anything else until I promised to marry him. We sat and talked until it was light. He never went home.
You sat and talked until it was light.
We sat and talked, Addison. I want a run of the play contract.
There never was. There'll never be another like you.
Well, say something, anything. Congratulations, school, good work, Eve.
What do you take me for?
I don't know what I take you for, anything.
Is it possible, even conceivable, that you've confused me with that gang of backward children you've been playing tricks on, that you have the same contempt for me that you have for them?
I'm sure you mean something by that, Addison, but I don't know what.
Look closely, Eve. It's time you did. And I'm Addison DeWitt. I'm nobody's fool, and least of all yours.
I never intended you to be.
Yes, you did. You still do.
I still don't know what you're getting at right now. I want to take my nap. It's important that
It's important right now that we talk, killer to killer.
champion to champion.
Not with me. You're no champion. You're stepping way up in class.
Addison, will you please just say what you have to say plainly and distinctly, and then get out so I can take my nap?
Very well, plainly and distinctly. Although I consider it unnecessary because you know as well as I what I am about to say. Lloyd may leave Karen, but he will not leave Karen for you.
What do you mean by that?
More plainly and more distinctly, I have not come to New Haven to see the play, discuss your dreams, or to pull the ivy from the walls of Yale. I have come to tell you that you will not marry Lloyd or anyone else because I will not permit it.
What have you got to do with it?
Everything. Because after tonight, you will belong to me.
I can't believe my ears.
A dull cliche.
Belong to you? That sounds medieval, something out of an old melodrama.
So does the history of the world for the past 20 years. I don't enjoy putting it as bluntly as this. Frankly, I had hoped that you would somehow have known, have taken it for granted that you and I.
Taken it for granted? You and I?
Remember, as long as you live, never to laugh at me, at anything or anyone else, but never at me.
Get out.
You're too short for that gesture. Besides, I went out with Mrs. Fisk.
Then if you won't get out, I'll have you thrown out.
Don't pick it up. Don't even put your hand on it. Something told you to do as I say, didn't it? That instinct is worth millions. You can't buy it. Cherish it, Eve. When the alarm goes off, go to your battle stations. Your name is not Eve Harrington. It is Gertrude Slishinsky.
What of it?
It is true that your parents were poor. They still are. And they would like to know how you are and where. They haven't heard from you for 3 years.
What of it?
A matter of opinion, granted. It is also true that you worked in a brewery, but life in the brewery was apparently not as dull as you pictured it. As a matter of fact, it got less and less dull until your boss's wife Had you followed by detectives?
You never proved anything, not a thing.
But the $500 you got to get out of town brought you straight to New York, didn't it? And that $500 brought you straight to New York, didn't it?
She was a liar. She was a liar.
Answer my question. Weren't you paid to get out of town? Fourth, there was no Eddie, no pilot, and you've never been married. That was not only a lie, but an insult to dead heroes and to the women who loved them. Fifth, San Francisco has no Schubert Theater and North Shore. You've never been to San Francisco. That was a stupid lie, easy to expose, not worthy of you.
I had to get in to meet Margot. I had to say something to somebody, make me like her, make her like me.
She did like you. She helped and trusted you. You paid her back by trying to take Bill away.
That's not true.
I was there. I saw you and heard you through the dressing room door. You used my name and my column to blackmail Karen into getting you the part of Cora, and you lied to me about it.
No.
I had lunch with Karen not 3 hours ago, as always with women who want to find out things she told more than she learned. Do you want to change your story about Lloyd beating at your door the other night?
Please.
That I should want you at all suddenly strikes me as the height of improbability. But that in itself is probably the reason. You're an improbable person, Eve, and so am I. We have that in common. Also a contempt for humanity, an inability to love or be loved, insatiable ambition, and talent. We deserve each other. Are you listening to me? Then say so.
Yes, Addison.
And you realize, you agree how completely you belong to me.
Yes, Addison.
Take your nap now, and good luck for tonight.
I won't play tonight. I couldn't go on.
Couldn't go on. You'll give the performance of your life. And she gave the performance of her life. It was a night to remember that night.
The action picks up where it left off. Eve accepts the award from the aged actor, kisses him tenderly, folds the award into her hands, and speaks with assurance, yet modestly and humbly.
Honored members of Saracen Society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, what is there for me to say? Everything wise and witty has long since been said by minds more mature and talents far greater than mine. For me to thank you as equals would be presumptuous. I am an apprentice in the theater and have much to learn from you all. I can say only that I am proud and happy and that I regard this great honor not so much as an award for what I've achieved, but as a standard to hold against what I've yet to accomplish. And further, I regard it as bestowed upon me only in part. The larger share belongs to my friends in the theater, and to the theater itself, which has given me all I have. In good conscience, I must give credit where credit is due to Max Fabian. Dear Max, dear, sentimental, generous, courageous Max Fabian, who took a chance on an unknown, untried amateur. And to my first friend in the theater, whose kindness and graciousness I shall never forget, Karen Richards. And it was Karen who first brought me to one whom I'd always idolized, and who was to become my benefactor in champion, a great actress and a great woman, Margot Channing. My director who demanded always a little more than my talent could provide, who taught me patiently and well, Bill Sampson, and one without whose great play and faith in me this night would never have been. How can I repay Lord Richards? How can I repay the many others, so many that I couldn't possibly name them all, whose help, guidance, and advice made this the happiest night of my life possible? Although I'm going to Hollywood next week to make a film, do not think for a moment that I'm leaving you. How could I? For my heart is here in the theater, and 3,000 miles are too far to be away from one's heart. I'll be back to claim it, and soon. That is, if you want me back.
A good night to all, and to all a good night.
The service is rendered beyond whatever it is of duty, darling.
Come on, I'm the host. I got to get home before the guests start stealing the liquor.
Congratulations, Eve.
Thank you, Karen.
I'm giving her a very high-class party. It ain't like a rehearsal. She don't have to be late.
As soon as the peasants stop pawing her.
Nice speech, Eve. But I wouldn't worry too much about your heart. You can always put that award where your heart ought to be.
I don't suppose there's a drink left.
You can have one at Max's.
I don't think I'm going.
Why not?
Because I don't want to.
Max has gone to a great deal of trouble, and it's going to be an elaborate party, and it's for you.
No, it's not. It's for this.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Here, take it to the party instead of me.
You're being childish.
I'm tired. I want to go home.
Very well. I shall drop you and go on to the party. I have no intention of missing it.
Exit to Park Avenue at night. Fade to the interior corridor outside Eve's apartment, Eve's hotel apartment. A small foyer from which one door leads to the living room, another to the bedroom. The bedroom and living room do not connect except through the foyer. She turns on the light in the living room. Camera follows her to a small bar where she fixes a stiff drink. As she turns from the bar, she stares, starts in fright, and drops the drink. A young girl, asleep in a chair, wakes with a jump. She stares at Eve, horror-stricken.
Who are you?
Miss Harrington. Miss Harrington.
What are you doing here?
I guess I fell asleep. Please, don't have me arrested, please. I didn't steal anything. You can search me.
How did you get in here?
I hid outside in the hall till the maid came to turn down your bed. She must have forgotten something. When she went to get it, she left the door open. I sneaked in and hid till she finished. Then I just looked around, and pretty soon I was afraid somebody'd notice the lights were on, so I turned them off, and then I guess I fell asleep.
You were just looking around?
That's all. You probably won't believe me.
Probably not.
It was for my report.
What report to whom?
About how you live, what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of perfume and books, things like that. You know, the Eve Harrington clubs, that they've got those in most of the girls' high schools.
I've heard of them.
Ours was the first. Erasmus Hall. I'm the president.
Erasmus Hall, that's in Brooklyn, isn't it?
Lots of actresses come from Brooklyn. Barbara Stanwyck, Susan Hayward, of course. They're just like movie stars. You're going to Hollywood, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
From the trunks you're packing, you must be going to stay a long time.
I might.
That spilled drink is going to ruin your carpet.
The maid will fix it in the morning.
I'll just pick up the broken glass.
Don't bother. How did you get all the way up here from Brooklyn?
Subway.
How long does it take?
Changing and everything, a little over an hour.
It's after 1 now. You'll get home till all hours.
I don't care if I never get home.
That's the door.
You rest. I'll get it.
Phoebe.
Hello there. Who are you?
Miss Harrington's resting, Mr. DeWitt. She asked me to see who it is.
We won't disturb her rest. It seems she left her award in the taxi cab. Will you give it to her? And how did you know my name?
It's a very famous name, Mr. DeWitt.
And what is your name?
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
I call myself Phoebe.
Why not? Tell me, Phoebe, do you want someday to have an award like that of your own?
More than anything else in the world.
Then you must, Miss Harrington. Then you
Must ask.
Then you must ask Miss Harrington how to get one. Miss Harrington knows all about it.
Who was it?
Just a taxi driver, Miss Harrington. You left the award in his cab and he brought it back. Sure, Miss Harrington.
Takes the award into the bedroom, sits it on a trunk. As she
Put it in one of the trucks.
no.
Will you pack it?
Sure, Miss Harrington.
She takes the award into the bedroom, sits it on a trunk. As she starts out, she sees Eve's fabulous wrap on the bed. She listens. Then quietly, she puts on the wrap and picks up the award. Slowly, she walks to a large three-mirrored cheval. With grace and infinite dignity, she holds the award to her and bows again and again, as if the applause of a multitude. Fade out, the end.
Hey, we did it.
One of the great screenplays. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
You guys, that was so fun.
Oh, good.
Champagne helped.
Yeah.
Eric, you have totally nailed the sexy dominant man vibe. There. I was like getting the vapors over here.
He was practicing. a
Very
little.
good. Very good.
Harley, I was blown away. You ain't so bad yourself over there.
Yay.
Thank you to Jack Corfields.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Hey,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
I'm trying to get started. Just a fun thing to do via Zoom since nobody can see anybody anymore. So.
Before we go watch Laura on TCM now.
Yes, and I'm gonna, exactly what I'm going to do right now.
Me too, me too.
That is why we are signing off.
All right, guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
See you guys tomorrow night.
Yep.